Hey guys, how's it going? This is Richard Sylvain.
And I'm Shelby Alvarez, and this is PHO.
I'm down a little bit. Okay, there we go.
Looking good, girl. You're glowing.
Oh, good. So are you.
So Britt Banks is award-winning director and screenwriter. So although she grew up in Long Beach, California, Britt Banks is a first-generation product of the Great Migration with roots in Arkansas and Alabama. Stories of the Jim Crow South and ghost encounters passed down from her maternal grandmother fueled her desire to create racially tingled social horrors. Britt explores theme of survival, courage, loss of loved ones, and systematic racism in her work. She's most passionate about marrying her love of storytelling with ghost lore, tragedy, and terror. I know that's right. It was during her senior year at the University of California, Irvine, that she discovered her passion for storytelling. After working several years in the legal field, Britt decided to pursue a career in directing and writing for film and enrolled in UCLA's feature film writing certificate program. She has written, directed, and produced several award-winning short films. She has also worked at NBCUniversal in their content and production department. In 2019, Britt was a guest speaker for Extensions of Horror Critical Studies Resident Series through CalArts. Britt is a 2020 Black Life Film Fest grant winner, a 2020 Screencraft Horror QF, and a 2019 winner of REVOLT TV's Hip Hop Horror Contest, which resulted in a 3-year distribution deal. Girl, is there more? Because we just bragged about you just now. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. You're doing great things, and I really appreciate the time you're taking to be on this, because this is big. Like, we want you to spread your knowledge because you have a lot of it. You still learning, but like, there's so much you could do to help other people, because there's people watching you, girl. There's a whole bunch of people on social media watching you. So
well, I hope so.
I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Actually was working on some things all film related, and this is just such a perfect break in my day. So how are you guys feeling?
Pretty good. We're live.
Good. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I'm a first gen product of the Great Migration, just meaning that my grandma and grandpa moved my mother up to the Midwest. So I was born in the Midwest, but I was raised in Long Beach, and specifically the North Side. So for those of y'all who don't know, the North Side is right next to Compton. So a lot of times people are like, oh, you're from Compton. No, I'm from Long Beach. So I went to, graduated from Long Beach, Jordan. Then I went on to graduate from the University of California, Irvine. And I worked primarily in the legal field after college. So that was just like my life. I thought I was going to be in corporate America forever, but now I am an award-winning director and screenwriter. And part self-taught, but part trained also, because I did take a few screenwriting courses at UC Irvine during my last year. And I also took some courses at UCLA. And what else? I identify as non-binary. So my pronouns are she, her, they, them.
Okay.
Nice. So Britt, how did you find your niche in life?
So I feel like I always knew, or you know what, let me rephrase that. I feel like spirit always knew, because, and I say that because even up until like the last couple of years, I always said, you know, I never knew what I wanted to do or who I was, or I never knew what my niche was. And, you know, it wasn't until I completely submitted to spirit that everything became clear. And that was also, you know, later in life. So the timeline of everything aligning, and then after, you know, realizing what my passion was, what my purpose was, meeting people that were just meant to be in my life to help progress my journey. You know, that was something that wasn't happening before. I just felt like I was kind of just, I was just here, you know, but now I'm hyper aware. And even how I met you, Shelby, like time after time,
that.
right? And so that's literally how my life has been after I submitted to Spirit and after I realized, you know, what it was that I wanted to do with my life. But also, even deeper than that, I will say that when I realized what I wanted to do, I was working my 9 to 5. Sometimes I was even working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. You know, it's expensive to live in LA. I already knew that. I should have went to law school. But yeah, so, you know, doing what I love, which is the filmmaking and writing and directing, and also just working on other people's sets, losing sleep, but still, you know, working my 9 to 5, still working those 2 and 3 jobs, and then also saving up all my money and putting it into all my projects and not thinking twice about it. Like if I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again because I really love filmmaking. So that's how I found my niche. That's how I knew this is what I want to do.
I think you investing in yourself is a huge thing, because like that's when these networks start to look at you like, oh, she's putting money into her projects, I need to match that. So you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing.
There are a lot of people though who are gifted with like crowdfunding and stuff. Like I know people who crowdfund back to back to back for all of their projects. And so I think that is looked at too. And that's also respected, just because it's like, you know, I would want to work with someone who can get the money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I will say that recently I was speaking to someone and she has a management company. One of her clients won an Oscar. And she actually, you know, she stopped me when I was speaking about myself, and she said, wait, you said you fund all of your own projects? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, that's huge. And that's something that, you know, a lot of people don't talk about, that part of the industry. And she wanted to speak with me off of the platform that we were on, just based off that alone. She was like, that's really commendable. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about it like that. I just feel like I'm doing what I got to do, you know? Right. And then to have someone who I look up to her, for her to want to discuss more, you know, off the platform, I was like, wow, okay. So you're right. I'm on the right track. I'm doing my thing.
I'm telling you. Like, I mean, we met before I saw you on set, which is crazy how that even happened. But like, I showed up like, oh, let me come do background. Why not? Yeah. You know, on top of that,
we didn't even know.
We didn't know. I was like trying to build. I was trying to build myself in the industry as well. Like just trying to figure out what was good for me. And I was like, well, let me do background. Whether they paid me or not, I was there. You know, and the fact that you paid me, I was like, oh, and she pays. Like, I respected it so much. I'm like, okay, she's doing big things, like for real. So let me ask you about specifically the horror. Like, what was something that made you say, like, I want to do horror? Because that's not an easy thing to write about.
It's not. So as horror in itself has so many different subgenres. Like, I'll get into like some of my favorites and where I'm leading up to with my horror journey. But I would say that I've always been a huge fan of horror in the same exact way that I'm a huge fan of roller coasters. So like, you know, there's the thrill of the ride. And for me, it's that feeling when I'm headed up the ride to whatever big fall awaits me once I get to the top of the roller coaster. And the exact feeling that I get when we finally drop, that's what horror does to me. It has always done that to me. I would be sitting in movie theaters dying laughing while everyone else is just like, you know, just shuddering away, you know? And I'm like, yo, this is fun. Like, I love that. The jump scares, the building action. Like, I love that. That's slow. Like, you know, something's coming around that corner, but you don't know what it is. So that's always been my thing, always. Probably since I was, definitely since I was a child. But I would also say though that like my favorite horror is social horror. And so examples of social horrors are like Get Out, Hereditary, His House, which is on Netflix, and Midsummer. So, you know, those are things that deal with, those are horrors that deal with themes such as like familial issues, racial issues, things dealing with economic issues and also injustices. So those are the ones that I'm attracted to the most, even though I do love those jump scares. I do love traditional horror. I love the fact that you can craft these type of stories, social horrors, and if you remove all of the horror elements, you're still left with a really strong drama. And so
reality, you know,
yeah,
like
reality.
you touch into the what ifs, like what if this were to happen, like, and that's what I love, like, oh my God.
Me too. And it's like, specifically being a Black person and being a Black person in America, when we touch on our social horrors, they're usually going to surround issues related to race. And it is what it is. I mean, I know that there's been this outcry lately of not wanting to see Black trauma or Black pain on screen. And I do agree with the Black trauma. With the Black pain, I just feel like it's so deeply rooted in the history of Black people in this country. And so when we are discussing, you know, some of our art and our work, you know, we're usually drawing from experiences. You know, there's going to be comedy writers, romance writers, people who really focus on joy. And a lot of times that's also drawn on their experiences, but you can't discredit those of us who draw on our experiences of pain, of trauma, of whatever our ancestors dealt with, you know. So that's something that I also like to deal with and play around with. Like, what stories can I craft based on that? I do think that one thing I saw recently was that they want, people want to see something where, okay, we can talk about Black pain, but if we're going to deal with race, let's talk about it and through the lens of Black people retaliating or, you know, getting justice on screen finally. And so I do craft my stories in that way.
I see. Do you want to stick to horror, or do you want to like branch off to other genres?
So interesting enough, I have like this unique duality of experiences. Like horror is my favorite genre, but like I have a lot of cousins who are Crips, for example. I grew up in the West Coast, you know, so it's a heavy influence in my life. I've lived in the hood, I've lived in projects. Like I have experiences that I'm also a product of a cousin who was lost to police brutality. So it's like my experiences aren't, they don't live in just a fictional space. You know, there's a lot of real life and real life dramas that I like to speak to. Also, I have a drama short film about police brutality that you were in. I have a drama short film about teenage girl Crips. It's a coming of age story. So it's like I can speak to the horror side. I can also speak to the drama. The thing about the horror is, though, is that similar to how Quentin Tarantino used this like Western comedic themed film to bring us Django, because that was the perfect vehicle to deliver his message of justice. There are a lot of messages that people aren't comfortable with viewing through the lens of a drama genre, and horror is the best vehicle to deliver those type of messages. So I could craft a story where, you know, an entity that was once a slave and, you know, maybe practiced magic or something comes back to life and kills everyone on the plantation through the vehicle of horror. That wouldn't work through drama because it would be too much for an audience to so
all right, so Britt, how'd you learn how to write scripts, and what did you make sure you did to separate you from the next writer?
Well, so the first thing I always tell everyone is that I'm self-taught. And I think that's important because, you know, there are people that do go to film school and, you know, those English majors, they just been all about writing their entire lives. And I used to really be so mad at them because they knew all the words and outstanding writers, right? But what I did, so there were also some steps I took. It wasn't just, I just sat down and I taught myself how to write. So the first thing was that last year when I was at UC Irvine, I needed some just extra courses just to graduate. And I saw this screenwriting course. I think it may have been like one of the only ones that was open. And so I just signed up for it. I've never thought about a career in writing a day in my life before I signed up for these classes. I just thought it would be fun. You know, it has something to do with like entertainment. Cool. I got A+ in all of those, that whole series, because I just clung to it so much. I really enjoyed those courses. I really wanted to impress my professor, and I wanted to, you know, just be good at it while I was in it. Unfortunately, I did not pursue that as a career because I just left thinking, okay, I need to get a job in corporate America, right? Or just somewhere. I was like, maybe I'll go to grad school, maybe I'll go to law school. I don't know. So in 2014, I just had this like epiphany, like this, I want to write, and I want to write for the screen, right? So I went to the Samuel French bookstore. That was my first stop. It's in Hollywood. And that bookstore means a lot to me because my mom took me there when I was probably like 13. And we bought like poetry books and monologue books. And that really helped me out with like being in theater, because I used to do a lot of stage plays when I was younger. And that helped me out tremendously. And it was just that whole day is just so vivid in my head. Like we really hung out that day as a mother and a daughter. And so I went back there because I'm like, there's got to be something here for me. So I got this book, Screenwriting for Dummies. And I was like, this just gotta tell me something, right? So I read that book probably 2-3 times, and I used it closely when I began practicing my writing. I was also given the advice to search for and download PDFs of scripts. So the first one I read, I think, was like Thelma and Louise randomly, because back then you just really couldn't find that many scripts online, you know? Now, of course, we have like Script Slug and things of that nature. And so I read those scripts and tried to really hone in on my own style, not realizing that even though there is a format of screenwriting, people got their own styles.
Yeah.
You know, I was seeing so many different variances. I was like, okay, I can cling to this, I can take from that, I can keep that. And then I took courses through UCLA's feature film writing extension. So they have a whole program for TV writers, feature film writers, whatever you want to do. And I think that's amazing that they have that, and you don't have to necessarily pay as much as you would if you're getting like your MFA or something like that.
Okay. So now that you've like honed your skills, which part of your in the writing process do you feel like you excel at? Like it's your strength. Like, you know, when it's time to do this, you can just, you know, get to like, is it whether it's your attention to detail or creativity, you know, just let us in on that.
I think there's 2 parts. So one, I finally gotten to the point where I can help others write. You know, it's because it's one thing when you're writing yourself, but then you're still like, oh, how do I format that? Or how would I write that in the script? So I think that now I've gotten it down to the point where I've memorized like all of the formatting. And like I said, I can go forth and help others. And then also, I think that I really excel in the creativity aspect of it all, because I noticed that I like to be, like you said, extremely detailed with my my action. You know, dialogue is really important, but my action has gotten so much better. Oh my gosh, like over the years, especially now, I'm really proud of myself with the action. Like, I don't think that there is any stone that I've left unturned. I'm like, you're gonna know what's happening next in this script.
Okay. So since you explained where you excel at, is there a department or area where you felt like you would have the most doubts, maybe, or like
with screenwriting? I think that the doubt comes in when I read people that can tell they were English majors, or like they're just like so poetic or something, because when I'm reading their work, I'm like, bro, like they're writing like authors almost. And so I remember early on when I first started, that was one of the advice that was given, like, oh, you know, we're not reading a novel, so just get straight to the point and be very specific. So I am a very specific writer, but every now and then I will throw in something that I feel is poetic, you know, because it just reads so beautifully. And so I do doubt myself sometimes when I'm reading scripts from people and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this person definitely excelled in English in college. Like I can tell.
Who do you look up to as a writer?
Oh, there's so many people.
Screenwriter specifically.
Obviously the Queen, Shonda. And you know what? Yes. So I remember when I first stumbled upon the pilot episode for Scandal. That was one of the scripts that I did find back in the day when I was, trying to search and download. And the very opening action that she put in there, oh my gosh, it was so beautifully written. I was like, okay, Shonda. Yeah, Shonda knows what she's talking about. Okay. I would also say Spike Lee for sure. I've read his scripts and he's pretty true to his scripts when you see it on screen. James Cameron, I've read Avatar several times actually, because it's just so amazing. And it really puts you in the same exact moment as if you're sitting in a theater. Ari Aster has quickly become one of my favorite writers. And this one is not, she is an author, but Octavia Butler. It's just, she's like the blueprint, you know what I'm saying? Like her writing is just phenomenal to me. Ben Corey Jones, he's a writer on Insecure, and funny enough, he's one of the writers that intimidates me because, when I read his stuff and I'm like, God damn, like he's really poetic in his flow and everything. Diablo Cody, she wrote Juno. And Malcolm Dealey, I would say, is another writer that I look up to.
Wow, you got a whole list. So we're gonna take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we do want you to read your script, whichever one you chose. You can read a page, you can read 2 pages. It's completely up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. You can read 2 different scripts if you want a paragraph. It's up to you, whatever you want to do.
Okay, for sure.
All right. So what you got for us?
Okay, so I was trying to find a great page of one of my feature scripts that didn't really give like a lot away. So let's see here. Exterior, Benoit Plantation. Joseph pulls into the driveway of a breathtaking Annabella mansion and parks the car. Joseph, Kate, and Ava step out of the car. Ava admires the house and surrounding trees. Welcome home, Ava. It's beautiful, right? Ava nods. It's amazing. I think you're really gonna like it here. Kate smiles and extends her hand to Ava. Ava grabs her hand and they walk into the house. Joseph follows behind with Ava's suitcase. Interior foyer day. The interior is exquisite and neoclassical, remnants of a preserved and haunted past. Kate, Joseph, and Ava stand at the bottom of a large staircase. The family's German shepherd, Shep, runs up to Ava. Ava meets Shep, Shep meets Ava. Ava rubs Shep's head. Jackson, 10, Caucasian, and Malachi, 12, an African-American boy, walk down the stairs. Ava, I want you to meet Jackson and Malachi. Jackson is our biological son, and Malachi is our adopted son like you. Ava shakes Jackson and Malachi's hand. How old are you? 10, but I'll be 11 in 3 months. How old are you? 10, and my birthday is in 2 months, so that means I'm older than you. Well, I'm 12, and that makes me the oldest, so you both have to do what I say. Nobody's listening to you, Malachi. Kate nudges Malachi's shoulder.
Yes, come through action. Talk about specific. I like that a lot. I have a question. Like for me, when I write, especially when it comes to dialogue, I think of like, well, when I write, I specifically go into like, if this is the way this situation went, but if it went my way, this is how it would go. That's how I write. So what's your take on writing? Like, how do you create dialogue is my question.
I definitely start, from how I would approach all of the situations, but then I always take a step back and then I try and incorporate, other people from, people that I've met to what I think the overall like just not, I don't want to say global, but I'll say global understanding of what this situation would be, or how someone would say something, depending on like what race I wrote them in, what gender, etc. So it's so many different moving parts for me when it comes to dialogue. And I go through the dialogue several times. Like I take several passes at it because, like I said, I start with myself, then move on to others, then try and think globally. And then I'm like, So it's so many passes.
All these voices in your head, right?
Yeah.
Trust me, I get it.
And it's always good to reach out to other people too, because I've written stuff and have gotten notes back, and I mean, definitely take notes with a grain of salt, but I don't think they would say it like this, or maybe they're you'll get those type of notes, and it's good to take that into account too, because this is how that writer or that reader saw it.
Who do you go to, like when your work is done and you need it edited? Who do you go to?
I try and reach out to people I know personally, because I just feel like it's a little difficult to, share your art with people. And then I think it would be, I think for other people, and this is just like my thought process, I said, okay, if I'm a horror writer and I know someone that's a strong writer, but not a horror writer, it may be best to give my work to them, because they don't have a reason to try and replicate it, because the horror is not their lane. So,
I didn't even think about that. Smart.
So what's something you're most proud of that not too many people would know about you?
That was a great question. And it was kind of like hard, because I feel like I usually put everything, out there already. I mean, I'm proud of so much. Like, I think that I'm most proud about evolving, because I can name all the little, I graduated from college, I did this, I did that. That's great and all. And I'm going to keep reaching for the stars and exceeding and excelling, like all of us, right? But I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest thing that changed my life was my evolution into who I am now spiritually. And I say that just because I remember details, facts, and moments about my life before I became aware of spirit, but everything, I'm just so hyper aware now. I feel like I'm present, I'm here. Like, it's almost like I was somewhere else before that even happened. So that's what I'm the most proud of, to be honest, is that I answered the call and that I evolved.
How'd you tap into that spirituality? Because a lot of people don't know how to get into it.
So I think it began with me personally, because I grew up in the church, and specifically the denomination was Pentecostal, which is, a lot of people say it's very dogmatic and it's very strict and it's a holiness type of thing.
I know that about you. Wow.
Yeah, so I was in it deep. Like, man, I was on the nurses board. I'm sure I was an usher in the choir, baptizing people. I was on everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was life.
Oh.
And so I remember I got to the point where church has always been satisfying to me. So I'm not one of those angry people who left and have something against the church. I don't. But I do know that for my own personal growth, I felt that the exact thing I said was, God, I don't even know you, because I've grown up with this kind of acquired behavior, and I'm told everything to do and think and feel. And so I don't even know if you got it. I don't even know if you got me. I just know they told me that you got me. And so it became this thing of me chasing after and searching for my own faith, searching for God for myself. I was more scared of saints than I was of God, like literally scared of saints. Wow. And doing things. And it's like, I only felt bad when I had to go to church and then go down to the altar and tell the saints what I did, right? So it wasn't even God. And so I was just like, I need to find you. I need to know that you're real. And that set off just a series of the craziest events that led me to pretty much unearthing my spirituality and figuring everything out on my own. And so I was comfortable with, leaving the church and practicing on my own And yeah, it led me to here. And I just, like I said, I feel so aware. It's so crazy. So.
How does your family feel about that?
They definitely didn't take it well. My sister and I, we actually went on the same journey the same exact year. So our journey began in 2012, but we didn't tell each other just because, like, especially growing up in our denomination, everything is just like, they're gonna think this, or they're gonna say this to you, or maybe people say it's judgment. So yeah. I don't know how you want to take it, but that's how it feels. And so we didn't tell each other, but we both, once we told each other, years later, we both felt like an ancestor actually reached out to us, because we both practice Hoodoo. And that's also something that we shared with each other later on. Like, how is it that two sisters from the same bloodline both start practicing something, in the same year, and we're after the same thing, but we never spoke about it to each other until years later. Wow. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I was just like, that really solidified things a lot more for me. And it confirmed like that what I was, the path that I was on was correct.
So for people who don't know what Hoodoo is.
So Hoodoo is basically like, it's just practices, spiritual practices, I'll say, because it's not necessarily a religion. I mean, you can turn anything into a religion, but the best word for me is just like spiritual practices and beliefs, right? And so it was created here within the boundaries of North America by the enslaved Africans. And it's basically like an amalgamation of African retention mixed with Native American practices. And some people say European, but I push back on that just because they were forced into Catholicism, they were forced into Christianity, and all of their practices were outlawed. They weren't allowed to do them. So that's where, they may throw in some forms of Christianity, some speak in tongues, things of that nature, when you go really deep. But I honestly, it was literally created as a form to protect them against European domination. So there's no way that Europeans should even be practicing Hoodoo, in my opinion. But some do. So okay.
Y'all, it's Brit's opinion. Do you incorporate a lot of Hoodoo in your writing?
No, so I have not, but in the feature that I just read the page of, yes. Mm-hmm. That one is about a little African-American girl who was adopted by the wealthy descendant of former slaveholders. And so, she moves in with them, and they're on the plantation where there was a former slave and hoodoo woman. She was a secret hoodoo woman, and she was murdered. So the story does not happen during slavery. It takes place after slavery. It's set in the 1990s, but the small flashback that we have is set after slavery. And so her daughter, she taught her daughter the hoodoo. Her daughter cast a spell on the land. And the way that the spell could come to fruition was that they needed someone there, that has some type of lineage or something to do with slavery. So the hoodoo does come out in this story because I put actual hoodoo practices in there, and some spells and things of that nature. So yeah, that may be the only work that I ever incorporate hoodoo in.
Okay.
Interesting.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. So Britt, what advice would you give any struggling screenwriters, and what are some things they can do to improve their writing skills?
I would definitely say be patient and do the work, because those two to me go hand in hand. For example, when I first started downloading the scripts and I realized, oh, these people are writing 100 and something pages.
Girl, yes.
I was skimming through everything. I was like I was a super fast reader, okay? But I'm not a super fast reader. And so I think that because I was moving so quickly through the scripts and the reading process, I wasn't able to really digest their formatting. And, you know, when they, you know, say certain words, and, you know, that's just so important, is to really pay attention. Because I read a lot of scripts, and they're not formatted correctly at all. Some scripts I've read lately read like plays, to be honest. And then I feel like, you know, Google is free right now.
Right.
You know, you can head over to the World Wide Web and go ahead and search any script, download it, read it, take notes, practice, you know, typing like they type. Also, there's courses available. There are free courses too. I just happen to take the ones that cost, but even the one at UCLA, it was, I think, around 600 per course. So if you can even just take one, you know, I highly suggest taking courses. I highly suggest reading scripts. I highly suggest reaching out to someone who is a screenwriter and constantly asking them. If you feel like you're bothering them, oh, well, you need to know. Right. There's the book, Screenwriting for Dummies. There's just so many things that I think that should be done before people declare themselves as screenwriters, because I would hate for, you know, people to never take the time to get the proper training, whether you're training yourself or going somewhere else, and you become frustrated with the journey. You know, there's a reason why you're not getting, you know, where you need to go or to that next step. And it's as simple as, you know, you needed to learn this step first.
So do you feel like is your work still like challenging you? Like you're still challenging yourself? Or do you feel like now that you've got it, like everything's like motion, like, you know, do you feel like you still have that fire to push yourself more, like, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like there are certain things that are challenging. When I feel like writing is challenging, period. I mean, I follow the writing community on Twitter, for example, and there are people that I follow that are winning awards back to back to back with their writing, and they are still tweeting out things like, you know, they're stressed. You know, the writing is just really like beating them down today, or like, oh, I got through 5 pages, yay me, you know, stuff like that. So it's like, there is never a time when writing, especially like trying to get to 100 pages, for example, trying to get to a good 100 pages, the good story, and fleshed out characters and everything. There's never a time where that's just not going to be challenging. I don't think it's a breeze for anyone. Even if you listen to like Aaron Sorkin, I took his was one of the master classes I took. And I was like, bro, this guy has to be stressed out, because he said he writes like 200 or some pages just for the network to scrap it and say, okay, we're only gonna go with like 100 or something. So you gotta crunch, you know? So I'm like, there's no way that the screenwriting is ever going to be easy at all.
So now that you just said that, what are some like Brit essentials before writing a project, you know?
I like that.
What are like your top 5 things that you must have, whether it's location, coffee, a drink, you know?
Yes,
what do you definitely need before you attack
we
a
need
project?
to hashtag Brit Essentials. I like that.
Well, I'm probably weird in my approach to writing, because like even when I share with some people, they're like, oh, I can never do that. But one, I definitely like the coffee. So I welcome the coffee. I also welcome ginger tea with honey. Those are my 2 drink essentials. As far as location, I try and face windows. Okay. I need something visual to stare at. And I don't know why, but like, I don't want to fall asleep while I'm writing, or I don't want to drift off. And so if I have something like visual in front of me that I can look up and out of every now and then, whether it's a window. And here's another thing, the TV. I love when the TV is on mute. If I'm watching something good, like all last year, I'm not even kidding, I was watching American Horror Story on mute. Just going through all the episodes of all the seasons, because I've seen it before anyway, so it was kind of like a refresher for me. But then with it on mute, I'm writing, and then when I would, you know, look up, there was something new that I would catch that I didn't catch the first time. And so I'm like, oh snap, you know, this is going on. And then bam, now my energy is back up, and I'm writing again. So definitely TV or windows, coffee and tea. Also music. I like music while I'm writing. So the TV can be on mute, right? But the music can be playing. And it has to match what I'm writing. If I'm writing horror, I usually listen to horrorcore.
Really?
Just imagine, like, yeah, Eminem, come on, I'm trying to kill you. You don't want to fuck with me. Like, you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, I just try to match the energy whenever I'm writing. I'm actually gonna move into horror romance soon. And so I've been trying to curate like a good playlist for that. So
when your boyfriend starts acting up, you can use it as a, motivation. What if, what if moment? Did you ever want to write for any major TV networks?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. There's so many. So it really just depends on like what the project would be, to be honest, because I like Shudder. I'm like pretty obsessed with Shudder. I love the idea that there is a major horror network, outlet for us to watch. I would love to write for Shudder. I was obsessed with Bates Motel, the series.
Oh my God, yes.
And I was so obsessed with it. I was sad when Norma died. I knew she was gonna die. We know the story, but I was really sad when it came time for that to happen. I was so mad at Norman. So I was thinking, you know what? I wouldn't mind writing something like this either, So yeah, there's so many networks. HBO. I would love to write for HBO. But yeah, there are a lot of networks.
Bates Motel be considered horror?
Yeah, it's horror for sure. So there were just so many horror elements to it. They tried to stay true to the original, with the knife in the shower and everything, but yeah, he kills a lot of people. He was a little psycho. So
he was definitely psycho.
Yeah, he was psycho. And there weren't that many jump scares in Bates Motel, the series, but it was so good. I really liked it. Like, oh, and that script is amazing too. But hats off to the writers. They did a great job.
I gotta write that. I gotta read that script now.
Yeah, it's really good.
Watch the show. What's the question you wish you had the answer to?
When am I gonna make it? And you know what? Okay. So basically, I'm an Aquarius, and that's just something that, we're always wondering, like, what's gonna happen next? Like, that is something for us. We need to know what's going on. It's not even about control. And I don't even know if it's like, I don't know if it's like, if it's a curious thing either. I just know that we're really like, okay, well, what's going to happen? When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Like, we need to know. So that's been something that's really been just like lingering, I want to say. And, there's also something deeper with that, because I'm not just like in a hurry to quote unquote make it. I also want to know, does the universe have something else that it needs me to learn? Does it want me to grow more in a certain way? Is there something they want me to master more? You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily just about when I'm going to make it. It's, okay, does the universe require something more of me before I get to that next step?
And what does making it look like for you?
Making it for me, it looks like big budget films, having my feature films financed, produced. I don't know if we're going back to a big screen society, but it was always my work on the big screen or on a network. It was always like, if I wrote a series, that was always the goal. I've never, because I know some people who are anti-Hollywood, and that's never been me. I'm all about Hollywood. I'm all about making it. I'm all about, being up there with all of the big shot callers. That's me.
Do you celebrate your wins during the process?
Yes, I do. And what's really funny is I was telling someone, I don't even know if this is funny, but I was telling someone the other day that like at first, when I first started, I was doing stuff. Like, I remember my very first short film was at the beginning of 2016. And so I did it, and I was like, oh, I have a film. Like, I was so happy, right? And so looking back, I don't really care for it as far as like, I'm excited that I did it, and I'm so proud of myself and the work that all of us put into it. But it's just not, you know, quality wise, it's not where I am now or where I'm going. Obviously, it was my first everything, but I was so excited about it, and I can't even explain to you the excitement. So when I had posted it, I think on Instagram, I think I got like maybe 30 likes and a couple views. And I was like, oh, people are liking it. So I celebrate myself. I go big. I don't even care. Like, I'm like, cool. Like, you know, some people have liked it. Even if you saw it and you scroll past, I don't care. As I did it, you know what I'm saying? And so that's one thing about me is I'm never going to be hard on myself. I'm just going to always try and be better than the previous version of myself when it comes to this filmmaking. So if I saw something in that film that I didn't like, which I did, you know, I'll write it out, correct it, and move on. It is what it is, you know.
What's been your least favorite script that you've written? Like, and why, really, why?
Oh my God. So I wrote this web series right after I did my first short film in 2016. So I did that short film, filmed it and everything, locked it in March of 2016. So by April, I had this web series. Each episode was like about 20 pages each. And it really was not a storyline. Like, it was just drama, like a bunch of drama. It was just so random. And so I had a table read for it. I was so excited. And then, you know, I put everything together. We came together for it, and so many things went wrong the day that we filmed it, which is why it hasn't even been, it wasn't edited, hasn't been released or even talked about. But the problem stemmed from the writing, not necessarily from the production. It was me. So the writing wasn't good. And what saved me, and I feel like the universe saved me from even putting that out, because had the filming had been on point, I probably would have put it out. But the DP that I had, he canceled on me last minute and said he was going on this random last minute booked family vacation. So scrambling, trying to find someone else to come in that same exact week without having met with them, going over a shot list or anything. I just took the recommendation of someone that I knew, and the guy who came, so sweet, and I really love he and his wife. I'm thankful that they showed up, but they brought like an old school home camera, like, you know, the kind you have at the family reunions, like on the shoulder of your uncle or something.
Girl,
and one of the, yeah, and one of the actors, and I know he was just like saying it, he wasn't trying to be funny or whatever, but he was like, man, this looked like BET Uncut when he was looking at the playback. So needless to say, I wasted $2,500 on that production, but that was my least favorite script anyway. And I'm glad that the universe put so much stuff in the way that I couldn't even release it. So my name is not attached to it, thankfully. So you live and you learn.
Should have had you read that. What I hated versus what I love. What was it about?
So that's the thing. It really wasn't about anything, really, to be honest. I had created this, it was called Misery Loves Company. I had created these group of friends, you know, there was an equal amount of men, equal amount of women. It's so, you know, typical. And the main couple, they were always like breaking up, getting back together, fighting, this and that. And so everyone else kind of served as a support system to them. And there was drama in everybody's relationship and in their friendships with each other. And so it literally was about nothing but drama. And I was like, you know, this isn't me. I know who it is, but I'm not going to say his name. This is me. So I'm glad it didn't work out.
My suggestion to you, don't throw away the script, rewrite it and turn it into horror. You already have it written.
I could do something like that.
I would not throw it away, because that's dialogue. Like, that's
like 100 pages.
Girl, just rewrite it. Simple as that. Like, that's the old you versus the new you. Like,
yeah,
bring them together and just create magic. I know you could do it.
Yeah. So Britt, what advice do you wish someone could have told your younger self? Like if you could go back in time, or what is something you wish, now that you're, seasoned, you're professional, you're established, you're grounded, what do you wish your younger self would have heard as like some advice, some words of encouragement?
Maybe a two-part answer. One, I just really wish that I had someone who asked the important questions, because for me and my family, just we've experienced extreme poverty. So I think that the main thing for everyone is that we all have a job and we're all stable. That's the main theme and goal for pretty much everybody in my family. It's just like, work hard. They did talk about college. I do remember that. Or just something, and no one said to me like, what feels good to you? What did you really like to do? And the only thing that I really can remember was the stage plays and theater. I love that so much. So basically what happened was I was very, very shy. I didn't really speak at all. But part of it was I had this like hearing condition when I was a little kid, I remember. And I used to always wonder, like, what are people saying? Because I just really couldn't hear them. Mm-hmm. And so I think around end of first grade, maybe second grade, that started to go away on its own. And I can hear now, I'm starting to talk and, come out of my shell. And so someone needed a kid to fill in for this other kid that dropped out of this, like, it was a speech competition, like, speech and debate. This is second grade. So wow. My mom volunteered me, and she was just like, even if you don't do a good job, maybe you'll place third, whatever. We don't know what I got, obviously, until we get there. So I remember it was 4 pages. And I only remember this because my stepdad, he reminds me of this every time I talk to him. But it was 4 pages. They helped me memorize it. I memorized it to a T. And when I got up there, it was there was parts of MLK mixed in there, quotes from MLK that he said. So when I got on stage, I acted it out, and I was just overemphasizing MLK's parts, like, and so they said I wowed the adults so much. And so I remember I went on to win the state championship. Wow. And so, yes, I went from that on to stage and theater. And I'm like, I really like doing this. So if someone had really honed in on my interest, asked all the right questions when I was a kid, I would have really clung to some form of entertainment the entire way, Instead, I just got lost in the whole, like, get a job so you can survive type of mentality. But yeah, I loved that so much, to the point where when I became an adult, so I think I was 19, and I was like, I need a hobby. I need something to do instead of college, because I'm in college, I'm in class all day long, or I'm working. I end up signing up for acting classes just as a hobby. So there was the actors workshop I went somewhere else. I can't remember the name of that one. And I had went to Amazing Grace Conservatory, which is owned by Wendy Raquel Robinson. She was my teacher, actually, at one point.
Had something. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, her school is lit. It's very lit. A lot of the kids went on to do some really good things. Like, they're singers now, actors. Dude from Moonlight went to Amazing Grace Conservatory. So yeah, it's a lot of kids that come out of there that go on and do stuff. But again, for me, I didn't cling to that because I'm trying to think as realistically as possible on what my family's saying. Like, nobody's going to take care of you, and you need to make sure, Mm-hmm. So that's where that went. But yeah, just if someone had asked the right questions and pushed me into the path of what I truly enjoyed, I think my life would have been lit, more lit.
What does your mom think about your movies?
So at first,
especially when the toughest critics,
Yeah, because at first, when I first told her that I may want to pursue a career in entertainment, that was during my last year at UC Irvine, when I was taking those screenwriting courses. And again, like I said, I didn't even know that there was this whole other life to entertainment. Like, obviously there's writers, right? So I told her, and she just was not for it at all, at all. And then as I went on, like, I do recall she wasn't, I mean, with my first short film, it was just kind of like, oh, that's cute, you know. She started to pay attention when I did Thick. And she was kind of like more involved and more like, well, what can I do to help? And so she brought food to set.
Yeah, I met your mom.
Yeah, which is so nice, right? And I was like, okay, she's starting to see, like, even if this is a hobby or even if this is just something I'm doing on the side, this is cool, you know, like, and she wants to be involved. And now she's like just 100% invested. With the latest short film that I did, Blue Laces, she said her mouth was open most of the time that she watched it. She's like, I can't believe that my daughter did this. And so that felt really great.
It gives me chills too. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Everybody know how they can follow you. If they have any questions for you, how can they contact you?
Definitely. So on Instagram, it's just my name, Britt, Britt, Banks, Banks. On Twitter, it's the same, but with an extra T in the middle. So it's BRITTT BANKS. If you want to contact me, you can always email. It's Britt, BRITT.Banks, BANKS @BrittBanksProductions.com. So it's just a whole bunch of my name over and over.
That's right. I love it. Tyler Perry did it. You could do it too. Okay. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Like, you're amazing. I keep telling you how proud I am of you. And I'm gonna keep telling you, I'm here to support you 1,000%, whether I'm doing background, whether I'm writing, whatever you need me to do, I'm here because you're my sister.
Thank you so much. I super appreciate you too. And I feel like whoever was there in the beginning, we like this, okay? Exactly. And you were there like randomly and then purposefully.
Yeah.
You were there, so.
Thank you.
And I'm super proud of you too. Like I'm following you. I see you. You're doing big things.
Thank you. So this is the screenwriting portion of things. We would love for you to come back for the directing. You know, we're gonna have directors coming to talk and give us some gems. And we would love for you to be one of our directors.
I would love to come back and talk about directing.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you. Really
Till next time.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.